Hey, all. Hope everybody's doing good. It's Monday and we're kind of back to square one. So we'll talk about all of the daily news so far and what's going on in the world and why we are here. So big thank you as well to all the mods and everybody else and Caligula for the inspiration for the jingle. So let's jump in. This particular session is going to be called Bitcoin Bonds and ETH Killers. There's a lot of unusual stuff going on. As usual, this is Edutainment. Welcome in. So, math, money, and freedom, you got that. So let's talk about what happened today. And there was a big $2,500, $3,000 spike all of a sudden out of nowhere. What caused that to happen? Super interesting. Well, news broke that the U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, you can see the little spike there on the bottom green thing, but we'll look at more charts later. But he just got a second term, which is great. And Bitcoin shot up 5% in minutes, and people like that. But why? Why do they like that? So we'll dig into that a little bit as well. But basically, the markets were very positive that Powell will continue the Fed's monetary policy. A lot of people see him as the money printing guy, and he's been a big part of helping the economy stabilize during the C-19 pandemic, and also an inspiration to the world economy as it goes forward. So a little bit about this guy. So not rocking the boat. I think the President of the United States wanted to just keep the same guy in place. He is very, bipartisan. He works with both sides of the aisle. But the economy is very different this time around. And again, we are in a very high inflationary environment. We weren't that way a year, 18 months ago. And the Fed chairman must pivot from dove to hawk, perhaps, potentially. And I'll talk more about what those animals mean in a second. But at the risk of recession and political blowback, he may have to fight inflation. So the public hates inflation, but the public also hates low economic growth and high unemployment. So this is the challenge that people kind of don't realize that the central banks have. People underestimate the political challenge of being a central bank that lets inflation get too high and then has to be unwound quickly. We'll see exactly what's going on here. The second thing, sorry, my phone rang. Let's jump ahead here a second. This one is a little bit of an illustration as to what it means. Dovish versus hawkish. So the dovish term are those who favor low interest rates or sometimes zero interest rates, which is the environment we have today. And then we have hawkish. These are people who like high rates. Now, what does this all mean as well? So there's another angle too. This was funny. Thank you to Nick in Denmark for sending this in. Printing is coming. The memes are already out regarding this guy, Jerome Powell. And he's widely known as the money printer, and that drives a lot of inflation. We've been talking about inflation this whole year and how that actually drives things like Bitcoin upwards. Also, other elements too. So this was sometimes people come out with the funniest things. So this is a group called Wisdom Tree, and it says Bitcoin has inflation resistance characteristics, says Wisdom Tree. I just found the name ironic. Wisdom Tree. Are you kidding me? Anyway, Bitcoin has inflation resistance characteristics. I have to laugh when folks in their living room come up with these silly, insightful, unique conclusions, which aren't unique at all. Anyway, enough of that. What really is important, this is more of a better perspective, a lot more insightful from Dr. Parikh Patel. And this is where Jerome prints. Biden does not believe money printing caused inflation. So I believe this is a perfect match. And I think Dr. Patel does this too. Jerome Powell selected for a second term. Stonks to the moon. He didn't mention Bitcoin, but that's what that means as well. So I know many of you are interested in investing. So just think about that. Obviously, money printing probably will continue to some extent. They will taper a little bit. But let's look at something else, another dimension as well. Switching gears and talking stocks and demographics and where we're going for the next 5 to 10, 15 years. So this was a cool little piece from, let me see, Fundstrat, Tom Lee, I think it was. And this is a graphic that impacts us all over the world. And populations kind of more or less generally follow the same pattern no matter where you are. So if you see here, this explains business cycles and growth cycles. So millennials are significant for two reasons. One, the sheer size in both the US and the rest of the world, and the relatively young age. First, they are the largest generation ever, larger than boomers, at a population of 2.5 billion globally. And second, at an average age of 26.5, they're just entering their prime income money generating years. This means they will spend and drive booms for the next 10, 15 years. And sometimes when this happens, there can be a little dip. So there could be a little dip in the stock market between 2022 and 2023. But then after that, it should be a boom for 10 years to 2035. And by the way, Kathy Wood also agrees with this type of thesis as we go forward. The cool thing to know is not only are these younger generations, people who are 26, 26 and a half, 27 on average years of age, are they buying stocks, but actually they're mostly buying crypto. So this will be a very good boon for crypto over the next 10 years. So think about that. Now, getting back to crypto and Bitcoin, this is from TechDev. Now, I thought 55K was kind of the max pain bottom. Right now, let's look at Bitcoin chart real quick and where we are. Bitcoin is at 56,150. So we're like $1,200 away from my kind of max pain bottom. But TechDev believes that this is following the 2017 mid-November peak perfection with only a minor difference being that of the 50-day simple moving average break. Now, we may not have bottomed, but it is close. And everything that we are seeing suggests, again, the probability in the next 5 to 15 weeks will be massive, including altcoin mania. So, TechDev's words, not mine, but I thought that was interesting. Massive. That's a big word for him to use. So let's look at something else that I pulled up. And a big thank you. I think Sanjay may have sent this to me. I can't remember. But a ton of stablecoins have moved onto exchanges to buy the dip. This is a big, big move. I don't know if you can zoom in on the right-hand side, but you will see people, fingers are on the trigger once again. Blockchain analytics firm Sentiment said that crypto exchanges saw their largest hourly inflow of stablecoins this year, just in the last 24, 48 hours. And this is during the little mini dip, mini correction in the markets. And the firm said on Twitter that, again, an avalanche of stablecoins hit from both USDT, Tether, and Circle onto exchanges. And it was also the largest 1-hour Tether inflow in the history of the world. I think at 8 a.m. UTC, about $800 million in Tether was transferred to exchanges. Just 6 hours later, $500 million USDC was transferred to exchanges. Again, those two combined in the space of 4 hours, what's that, $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion stablecoins just dumped. And they're there for a reason. They're there to buy. So let's look at what's holding us back. Now, 8 days ago, I made a video about Mt. Gox. And, a lot of people were like, Mt. Gox, what? That's old. Does that really matter? Are they really releasing? But literally, for those history buffs out there, they'll know what the Sword of Damocles is. And this is kind of hanging over the head of the market, I see. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling it is holding the market back. And I don't see Bitcoin going to $100,000 next month because this is the threat that's hanging out there. Whales have been holding tight right now. They are not pulling triggers, but they have the powder ready to pull the triggers. They haven't bought much more, but they're well aware of Mt. Gox and the upcoming drama and are waiting to load up on the potential dip that could come, even beyond the 55K max pain. We're not sure. We could actually be there. But anytime we dip below 56K, the buyers come in. So we'll see. We need to clear this Mt. Gox hurdle, the Sword of Damocles hanging over our heads. And then once we get that behind us, Bitcoin will have a clear path to reach new highs, barring any crazy regulations that could spoil the party. So that's the status there. And that's kind of my feeling as to what's really holding us back. But let's look at a couple of different scenarios. This is kind of the Bitcoin Playbook. And this is from Gold Prairie. I saw it online today, and Sanjay did send me this. Yes, now I remember. This is kind of a price action sheet. Now, your level of concern should be correlated to the area where the price activity goes. So right now, you can see the price action is very good. We are still likely to see a parabolic move. This is kind of the green area. But we have to stay above the ascending wedge line. You see that big, like 45-degree line going up to the right? We got to stay above that as we go forward. So what that means in simple terms is the yellow box. We don't want to drop below 60K in January 22 or 62K February 22, etc. We want to stay high. The pink box, we need to stay above 52K at all costs. Very, very important. My max pain is 55K. This signifies it as 52K. So it's very interesting. We're kind of similar. And the red box, we have to stay above 40K. If not, it's like, we could be in deep, deep doo-doo. So that's another quick one, just to think about how we look at the market. And sometimes I use these indicators as to how much I buy the dip, determine lines, Fibonacci retracement levels, to determine how much I layer in. Is it a 1x, is it 3x, 5x, etc. So think about that as we go forward. Again, I wish I could tell you it's plain sailing from here on in, but no, there's always going to be kind of FUD and these swords hanging over our heads. So just go into the market realizing that and be ready for anything that may come. And don't be shocked. If you go in with your eyes open, everything is good. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is Alex Mashinsky. We're big fans, of course, here. Celsius is incredible. They are unbanking the world. And they've doubled down on their Bitcoin mining investment, adding another $300 million. And in an interview, Alex said today that the Bitcoin investment is to expand their proprietary Bitcoin mining operation and hash rate capabilities in North America. They have a couple of partnerships. They're working with a couple of names I can't remember, Core Scientific, Rhodium Mining, Luxor Pool, those types of firms. But really, that's a big, over $500 million investment in Bitcoin mining, and that's how bullish they are. So that is other good news. Now, speaking of miners, this is another thing. And tomorrow's TA Tuesday, everybody. So if you have a passion for me to analyze certain cryptos, I'm going to be looking at some cool things. And as you know, I'll be working with CTO Larson on some kind of TA indicators that we can all use to make us smarter in decision making. So this is the Puelle Multiple. And the values are still relatively low, as you can see on the chart here, despite the recent rise in the price of the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Now, Crypto Quant, they talk about Puelle multiples. They are still not high at all, implying miners do not feel pressure to sell, or they're not selling. They're borrowing fiat, they're buying mining equipment, they're paying the electricity bills with debt or whatever else, but they are not selling their Bitcoin. And for those who don't remember, the Puelle multiple is a famous Bitcoin mining indicator that indicates how much profit mining pools are currently making compared to the one-year historical average. And when we go through that level of 1.1, 1.13, we get a rally. And we have not broken through that level. So we can assume that the miners are not selling, which, again, it looks like there's many things that traditionally happened in the Bitcoin market, but they're not happening this time around because everything is different. So keep that in mind. Speaking of everything being different, another big news, this one is kind of the $1 billion Bitcoin bond from El Salvador. So let's drill in as to what this means. People are saying, should they buy, but aren't bonds dead, etc. So there are a lot of open questions. When I try to figure it out, there's a couple of things that you guys all need to know. It does have an interesting structure. It's got a 6.5% coupon rate, which basically, when you consider inflation is at least 6.1%, or as I say, 15%, you're still losing money on that. But it will pay a dividend after 5 years once its expenses are paid. But I couldn't find anywhere the math behind exactly what that dividend is and how much is actually paid out. So we'll see what happens as we go further. But nobody's asking those questions. I searched high and low all day and I could not find the answer. By the way, since I've been on, Bitcoin is pumping. That's the juju from you all. So it's really cool. Anyway, investors in this new bond will receive the special dividend after 5 years. The city will be built next to a volcano. You've all heard this, etc. Build up residential areas. It'll be a tax-free zone. And if Bitcoin goes up in value after 5 years, bondholders could get a special dividend kicker based on the Bitcoin value. Now, the issues with it is Bitcoin bonds appear to be a gimmick to achieve lower interest rates because they may be, because of their junk bond status, may have problems raising money from other areas. And the dividend payout ratio, if anybody has it, please drop it in the comment below. I'd love to see it. I couldn't find it and wanted to calculate it. So it could be interesting, but then again, maybe not. The other big question people have is, will other countries follow El Salvador's lead? We'll have to wait and see, but maybe not. So there's a lot of risks. But there are countries that have weak economic growth, such as El Salvador, Greece, Sri Lanka, Mozambique, and they all have to pay very high coupons on the yield. So maybe this Bitcoin bond thing could be an interesting way for nation states to earn money or raise money. So let's talk about this one, MercadoLibre. Since we are south of the border, Brazilians will soon be able to pay, buy, and sell and hold Bitcoin via Mercado Pago. I hope I said that right. That is MercadoLibre's digital payment app. Think of it like PayPal, Venmo, Square app, etc. And they are the biggest e-commerce platform in Brazil. And what's also interesting is MercadoLibre, I think, bought about $8 million worth of Bitcoin back in May, which turned a lot of heads. So these guys are very, very pro-Bitcoin. And Brazil, very like Argentina and other places, they know what inflation is, and they're interested and curious. So let's switch gears and talk about alts for a minute. Talk about Ethereum. And I keep telling you, we're making new all-time lows. Right now, Ethereum is at a fresh 3-year low on exchanges. There's only 12% of supply right now on Ethereum. And the last time the volumes on exchanges were so low was in 2018, after the bull run had ended. So watch this space carefully. Now, what's also happening is there's a lot of people, we've been talking about ETH Killers and, ETH 2.0, when it's going to come, etc. But there's a lot of press today about Ethereum, currently, obviously, the clear blockchain leader in decentralized finance. And as you know, the DeFi sector is a huge piece of what we follow. But according to DeFi Llama, yes, they had the total V to TVL, total value locked on Ethereum network, sits around $175 billion. So they are the biggest by far, significantly higher than all the other networks. However, experts have stated that Ethereum might soon lose its top position because of the network's problems. A lot of people are talking about, oh my God, high gas fees, long confirmation times, and slow updates. In fact, one of the biggest pains for me is the confirmation time. You have to wait sometimes 10 minutes to get in, 10 minutes to get out, to find out. And during all that time, your transaction prices are changing, and it can be infuriating. You expect crypto to be kind of real time. And this is also bringing in a ton of competition. Now, this article specifically referred to competition from other blockchains in the market: Solana, Avalanche, and Fantom. They were the three that they chose. Not talking here, the article. And the developers are running towards these networks because they offer solutions that solve most of the Ethereum network's problems. So we'll see. Remember, I own Ethereum. I'm not slamming Ethereum, just mentioning the facts of this article here. And Elrond wasn't mentioned, but that's another key player as well as we go forward. Then this guy, this is the CEO of 3 Arrows Capital in Singapore. And he said, he had some colorful words, and he stirred up a lot of controversy. And I will not repeat the words that he said, but he had abandoned the Ethereum citing issues related to the network's expensive transaction fees. And his tweet was most aggressive. Some I cannot repeat, and I won't. But he said words to the effect of, I have abandoned Ethereum despite supporting it in the past. Yes, Ethereum has abandoned its users. The idea of sitting around bleep, watching the burn and concocting purity tests while newcomers can't afford the chain is gross. So that was his very strong words, again, from a former Ethereum fan to somebody really slating them. Now, speaking of ETH Killers and DeFi, Elrond is up 60% in 3 days. I, in full disclosure, have a small Elrond bag, and they are off to the races. Sometimes it's weird in this market. Sometimes you wish your bag was bigger in certain names, but it's nice to have a little piece anyway, just to be able to ride a little bit on that train. But the price expansion was probably due to the $1.3 billion liquidity incentive program that Elrond introduced on Friday, and it aims to supercharge the upcoming launch of its platform, which is a decentralized exchange. I think it's called Myar. And the DEX will use its utility and governance token MEX to transfer funding. And I think about 300 million has already been pumped in there. And we'll watch this carefully. And Elrond has distributed some of the ownership to more than 60,000 accounts in the form of MEX tokens so far. So again, it's caused a huge pump to Elrond. We'll see exactly where they will line up and stack up as we keep an eye on all the SCPs, the smart contract platforms, and how they rank in our top 20 scoreboard as we go forward. And speaking of the chart, again, tomorrow's TA Tuesday. We'll go deeper into some of these charts. But this is what a 60% spike looks like, and how how this thing has really exploded compared to there's some fib levels I had there from the chart in the past when the golden cross happened to signify it on the chart. And you guys know I like to mock up my charts as much as possible. But that is a parabolic rise, and we'll dig more into that tomorrow as well. So this one was also interesting. Charles was a little bit frustrated over the weekend, and he said there are bigger things out there. Ignore short-term pricing. And the key thing, the Cardano founder, CEO, chief executive officer, etc., whatever you want to call him, he basically said words to the effect of, if you look at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we really feel that there's a strong possibility that Cardano could be the back end of many nation states. So again, what Charles is telling you, have a very long-term perspective. Don't think 5 years or less. Think 20 years out. I don't think the typical crypto investor has that type of patience, but we'll see. That's from Charles. Anyway, speaking of Bitcoin back, this guy, 100% is new 50%. A lot of professional athletes, football players, etc., basketball players wanted to get paid in Bitcoin, but they typically got 50-50, 50% cash, 50% Bitcoin. This guy, Odell, he's kicking off the new era, and he's hyped to announce that he's taking all of his salary in Bitcoin thanks to Cash App, which is a Square product. So that was pretty cool. Interesting to see that type of conviction. And speaking of TA Tuesday, there is a Black Friday sale. For those of you, if you are in the game, if you are an investor, you do need a tool like TradingView for your TA. It is absolutely critical, but there's a link down below. Any proceeds and referral revenue, I think if somebody signs up on the premium package, this channel gets $30. You get extra discounts on top of the discounts listed here. So check it out. We donate everything, so I don't care either way if you use it or not, but it's coming. So if you don't have this, or if you want to renew or upgrade your tools, let me know, and we'll do TA Tuesday tomorrow. So with that, everybody, hope you like the content, and thank you all for being here. And I will, oops, I don't want that one. I will see you all tomorrow for TA Tuesday. Okay? And by the way, on Wednesday, I'm doing a special session with CTO Larson again. So stay tuned for that as well. Okay? Thank you, everybody.